Hey, coach, getting ready to work with some young athletes. I bet you really want to make sure you're doing everything you can to keep them safe and create a really positive and supportive environment, huh?
Absolutely.
We're going deep today into the Australian Athletics Safeguarding Children and Young People policy.
Okay.
But don't worry, we're going to skip all the legal stuff and get right to the practical stuff. The stuff you can actually use out on the track and the locker room.
Right.
Did you know that even things that seem totally innocent, like giving gifts or offering rides, can actually get you in trouble?
It's true.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of coaches might be surprised by that. It really shows how seriously Athletics Australia takes the safety and well-being of young athletes. They have what's called a zero-tolerance approach
Zero tolerance.
to any harm towards a young athlete.
Okay, zero tolerance. That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean for me as a coach, though?
Well, it means that you have a big responsibility to understand and follow these guidelines, even beyond what's typically legally required. You really need to be aware of how your actions and words could be perceived, even if you have good intentions.
Yeah.
For example, think about how you talk about body image and performance with your athletes. The policy specifically calls out excessive emphasis on appearance, weight requirements, or muscularity as harmful behavior.
Oh, wow.
Even comments that seem positive can have unintended negative consequences.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can see how a comment like, you'll jump higher if you lose a few pounds, could be damaging, even if I'm just trying to, help their performance.
Yeah.
It's not just about avoiding the obviously bad things. It's about understanding the little things and how they can impact these young athletes.
Exactly. And that's why this deep dive is so important. You really need to be aware of these nuances and how they apply in the everyday coaching situations.
Okay, so let's talk about those everyday situations. Give me the practical do's and don'ts,
Yeah.
the stuff I can actually use in my coaching.
Okay, well, let's start with communication, especially in our digital world. The policy is very clear. No one-on-one communication
Okay.
with young athletes, electronically or online, without another adult present,
Okay.
either a representative from the organization or a parent.
So no private messages, no DMs, no side conversations online.
Exactly.
Everything needs to be open.
You've got it.
Hmm.
Think about it from a parent's perspective.
Yeah.
They want to know what's being said to their child, especially online. It's about being transparent and creating a safe environment where communication is open and everyone can access it.
Okay.
Instead of using direct messages, you could consider using team communication apps or scheduling regular meetings with parents to give feedback.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not about being secretive.
Right.
It's just about making sure everyone's in the loop and feels comfortable with how much we're communicating.
Exactly.
What about physical contact? Obviously, I'm going to be careful, but sometimes you need to demonstrate a technique or help an athlete with their form.
Absolutely.
You know.
There are times when physical contact is necessary for coaching, but the policy advises a lot of caution.
Okay.
Any physical contact has to be demonstrably necessary and appropriate.
Okay.
And it's always best to get consent from the athlete and their parents beforehand, especially for anything beyond, a brief instructional touch.
So like assisting with technique is probably okay if I have consent,
Right.
but maybe not like a pat on the back for encouragement.
Yeah, you're right to be cautious. You have to be really aware of how even touches that seem innocent can be misinterpreted or make someone uncomfortable. When it comes to physical contact, just be cautious
Okay.
and focus on clear verbal communication and feedback.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Okay?
Offering rides to athletes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say practice runs late and a parent is stuck at work.
Uh-huh.
It's so easy to just be like, hop in, I'll take you home.
Yeah.
But you're saying that's a no-no.
Yeah, that's actually a big no-no unless you have explicit written consent from the parents or guardians. The policy is designed to protect both the athletes and the coaches.
Yeah.
Even in an emergency, it's better to get the organization involved and contact the parents directly.
So if a kid forgets their gear
Yeah.
and their house literally on my way home, I should just say, sorry, no can do.
I understand it can feel awkward.
It does.
But trust me, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Remember, you're in a position of authority.
Right.
And even a gesture with good intention can be misconstrued.
Hmm.
So if you don't have that written consent, it's just best to avoid that whole situation.
Okay, that's good to know. That clarifies things a lot. You've given me a lot to think about already.
Good.
How do I balance, like, having open communication with parents, but also respecting a young athlete's privacy?
That's a great question.
How much should I be sharing and how much should I keep confidential?
That's a great question, and one that a lot of coaches struggle with.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a tough balance. You want to be transparent with the parents and keep them in the loop, especially when the athletes are younger.
Right.
But you also want to build trust with your athletes and respect their need for privacy,
Yeah.
especially as they get older.
That is a tough line to walk. How do you suggest we How do we navigate that?
Well, communication is key, and it starts from the very first day.
Okay.
At the beginning of the season, hold a meeting with both the athletes and their parents.
Okay.
And in that meeting, go over your communication practices.
Okay.
Explain what information you will be sharing and what you will keep confidential and why.
Got it.
Make it clear that the safety and well-being of the athletes is your top priority,
Yeah.
and that open communication with the parents is part of that.
Okay, so regular check-ins with parents.
Yes.
Focus on like the athlete's development and progress, but be upfront about confidentiality when it comes to, personal things that the athlete shares with me.
That's a great approach.
Okay.
And remember, if you're ever unsure about a specific situation, it's always best to talk to your organization's designated safeguarding officer.
Okay.
They're there to help you.
Right.
And they can help you figure out those tricky situations where confidentiality and parental involvement might overlap.
Okay, so communication is key.
Yes.
Be mindful of boundaries.
Uh-huh.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Got it. This is really helpful. It's making me think differently about what it means to be a coach.
Good.
It's not just about teaching the skills and tactics.
Right.
It's about creating a safe and supportive environment for these young athletes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Your impact goes way beyond the sport itself.
Right.
You're in a position to influence these young people's lives in a really positive way, and that includes making their safety and well-being a priority.
Okay, so we've covered communication, physical contact, transportation. What about those times where an athlete needs help with something that's kind of outside my coaching scope?
Yeah.
Like if they have family issues or mental health struggles or even bullying among teammates? How do I handle that as a coach?
That's where knowing your limits and your resources is really important.
Okay.
You're a coach, you're not a therapist, a
Right.
social worker.
Right. It's about finding that balance. Like, I'm here to coach, but I also care about these kids as people.
Right.
So what's the best way to handle those sensitive situations?
First of all, just listen.
Okay.
Let the athlete know that you're there for them, that you care, and that you want to help.
Okay.
But then you need to connect them with the right resources.
Okay.
Your organization should have people designated to handle safeguarding
Right.
or a list of mental health professionals, counselors, and other support services. You might even want to make a list of resources that you can easily share with athletes and parents.
Okay, so if an athlete tells me something serious,
Yes.
I should write it down, report it to the safeguarding officer, and then help connect them with the right kind of professional help.
You got it.
Okay.
It's important to document things, not to get anyone in trouble, but just
Right.
so there's a record of what's been happening and to
Mhm.
make sure the athlete's getting the support they need.
Yeah.
It also protects you as a coach.
Okay, this is all starting to make sense.
Good.
It's about knowing the boundaries, being careful,
Yes.
also being proactive, about creating a safe and supportive environment.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this.
Right?
The policy gives you a framework for these situations, and your organization has resources to support you.
I'm really glad we're doing this deep dive.
Me too.
It's really eye-opening. I feel like I have a much better understanding of what I need to do as a coach.
I agree. This information is essential for anyone who works with young athletes.
Yeah.